Let's talk about this bank panic and the destruction of the U.S. dollar. I'm going to say something that probably defies some conventional wisdom right now, and I'm sure that there will be detractors out there, but I don't care, actually, because if I'm right, then a lot of people might actually be able to protect themselves and protect their families. And if I'm wrong, well, guess what? No one gets hurt. In fact, you'll actually be a little bit safer and a little bit of a safer position when it officially happens and they announce this. So we'll get to that in a second. It's a little tease for you. Yesterday, a third U.S. bank failed in the space of a week. So this bank is called Signature Bank, which, by the way, is the same bank that shut down President Trump's bank accounts after January 6th. Isn't that kind of ironic in a way? Anyway, just had to throw that in there. They shut down his bank accounts because he was too risky after January 6th. They didn't like the risk associated with him, Trump, and January 6th, Signature Bank. And now they've collapsed. As David Schaefer says on Twitter, Signature Bank famously closed President Trump's bank accounts to signal its virtue. Go woke, go broke, he says, to signal its virtue. This morning, President Biden came out and gave a rare address to the nation. Of course, he's not taking any questions. He doesn't do that. And he did this ahead of the market open to assuage any kind of fears about a run on the banks. Watch.
Today, thanks to the quick action of my administration over the past few days, Americans can have confidence that the banking system is safe. Your deposits will be there when you need them. Small businesses across the country, the deposit accounts at these banks can breathe easier knowing they'll be able to pay their workers and pay their bills. And their hardworking employees can breathe easier as well. Last week, when we learned of the problems of the banks and the impact they could have on jobs of small businesses and banking system overall, I instructed my team to act quickly to protect these interests.
So last week you knew about this, okay? Just to be clear about that, just to rewind the clock. It's not Friday that you knew about this. You knew about this in the middle of the week. You knew about this earlier than we were told. But last week I told my team. So we know, okay, that's how this is playing out. So the message here, though, is very clear. Don't worry about your money, America, because the Fed will step in and create more liquidity so you can withdraw your money. Watch.
Because of the actions that our regulators have already taken, every American should feel confident that their deposits will be there if and when they need them. Second, the management of these banks will be fired. If the bank is taken over by FDIC, the people running the bank should not work there anymore. Third, investors in the banks will not be protected. They knowingly took a risk, and when the risk didn't pay off, investors lose their money. That's how capitalism works.
Oh, is that how capitalism works? He's giving us a lesson in capitalism.
Oh, okay.
You know, so here's how capitalism works. We pick winners and losers, and we, the federal government, pick winners and losers, and then we print more money to bail out certain people.
Yeah.
That's how capitalism works. Just so we're clear on that.
Okay, cool.
I think I just got the wrong ism.
Yeah. Socialism or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Philip.
I just want to quickly jump in with something that just really infuriates me, and I hate it. But why it's like the new political rhetoric, not even new, but like decades old, of where anything that happens, they have to point out that it was their administration that did it. He starts out with that, like, me and my administration. I was like, who? Okay, fine. It was.
No, it drives me nuts because it's right out of the gate. He wants to take credit for it, right? He's like, I instructed, it was my administration moved very quickly. We moved very quickly. Mm-hmm.
Okay,
really?
But the bank failures have been on when he was vice president,
right,
on Democrats' watch. Although, of course, it's monetary policy continues to expand no matter who's in office.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
And so does government. So yes, those taking credit for the timeline is stupid because they all do the same thing.
So he blamed Trump in this, too, which you were kind of alluding to, this idea of they're all to blame. So he blamed Trump. That's one of the other things he mentioned in this speech. Number 5 on his list was the past administration deregulated things and whatever. Anyway, that's to distract you from the real story. They want us to blame Trump. It's his fault for deregulating the banking industry. That's what the Biden administration wants. That's what left-wing media is saying. All you need to do is turn on MSNBC or CNN. That's what they're saying this morning. And Republicans want us to blame Biden inflation, as they're calling it, right? It's his inflation which caused these treasuries to lose value. All of these banks were loaded up on these treasuries and they lost all kinds of value because of inflation, and that's why there was this big problem, right? So they want to play this back and forth. It's a distraction. I'm saying it's a distraction. This is my theory on this. It's in the same way that the Chinese distraction about the Wuhan lab leak theory, because it's all a distraction from the real story. Everything that we're seeing over the past 24 hours, I believe, is a trial run for a central bank digital currency. This is what I believe. Based on the facts from the FDIC and investors that I trust, this was always going to happen. Just remember some context here. In the fall, right here on this show, we talked about the FDIC held a private meeting. Then that meeting was leaked. During that meeting, the FDIC jokes that the banks are a joke, right? They're not solvent, basically, and that they are a well-known house of cards. They also said that they wanted people to use as little cash as possible. How can we limit the amount of cash that people are using? That's the goal. And when the problem hits, they would release this information on a Friday night so as not to have further panic, right? They want this to hit. They're going to release it on a Friday night. Isn't it kind of crazy that all three of those things just happened on a Friday night? Watch, this is the FDIC.
How would we use targeted guarantees to allay concerns about excess cash use? There's a lot of questions here. And so, there are a lot of things we've been thinking about, and what we want to hear from you today is what you think the priorities would be in order to go about setting expectations appropriately in public about how we would execute Title II, so that if and when we do have to have that announcement on Friday night, ideally Friday night, that people are in a position to receive it, understand it, and say, yeah, that works. And we can see how this will happen. Of course, there will be doubters, but there's a lot of things going on.
So
that's the plan, guys.
Here it is, right? I mean, she literally says it, and it all happened, right? And again, this is why we cover this stuff. Months ago, you guys could have started preparing yourselves, moving money into gold and silver, making whatever you want to play into Bitcoin, whatever, real estate, etc., getting your money out of this system that they control, and also getting as much cash on hand as possible. As Catherine Austin Fitz likes to talk about, cash is king, making sure that you're making withdrawals, keeping cash on hand because they don't want you to use it. But you hear what she said at the beginning there, which is the targeted guarantees. And that's exactly what the Biden administration has done over the past 24 hours. Targeted guarantees. We're going to step in. Don't worry about it. Your money is safe. Don't take it out now. Okay, what we're telling you is we've got it under control. Your deposits are safe. The federal government, the Fed is here on a white horse to ride in. You don't have to take your money out. Don't use cash. You're fine. Targeted guarantees.
Yeah, exactly.
And on a Friday night. I mean, okay.
Right.
And Biden says if the FDIC takes over these banks, right, they are taking over these banks now, right? The feds and the regulators are taking over these banks. So they're taking control of the 8th and 7th and 6th largest banks in the United States. It's happening. Go ahead, David.
Well, I was just going to say, and it seems to only be select banks, like it's going to be only banks that they choose, which is them, like you said, choosing the winners and losers. So it's like, what if I'm in a credit union? What if I'm in this small local bank?
Yeah.
Am I just screwed?
Well, it really depends, of course, like what kind of banking, how most of these smaller banks are, of course, subsidiaries of larger banks, right? And depending on how they're broken up and separated.
Yeah.
But, it's interesting. At South by Southwest conference is happening right now. And all the panels that were there, the reporting is that all the panels were talking about artificial intelligence and other things, they all got scrapped. Almost all of the panels devolved into discussions about the banking system and Silicon Valley Bank and all of these venture capitalists, all of these people who were there, worried about funding startups and all of these things are how can I need my money. I need to not be a part of a startup anymore.
Yeah.
It's crazy. The Biden administration and the Federal Reserve want you off of cash, and they don't want you using paper money and coins. They can't track you. They can't tax you, right? You get money under the table, they can't tax you. They don't know that the lawn boy got paid money to mow the lawns in the neighborhood. They want you to move to a digital US dollar, a central bank digital currency they control. With cash and coins, they can't really control it. So they want you using as little of it as possible. And at the end of Biden's speech, he gives us a window into not stopping here. Not stopping here. We'll do whatever it takes. Watch.
Americans can rest assured that our banking system is safe. Your deposits are safe. Let me also assure you, we will not stop at this. We'll do whatever is needed.
Yeah, we'll do whatever is needed. And so, they couch this as all very convenient, right?
I mean, but they're pulling different dollars to fund these dollars. So the consumer dollars that were deposited in these